to be attaching the felt to the back side first. So I've got my pneumatic nailer here, and all I have to do is find where I put those blocks, and then I just go straight across to find the corresponding spot, and then go nice and tight. I'll go this direction, and then I'll turn it around and go in the exact opposite spot. Fortunately, by tacking this fabric in, the fabric itself is actually going to start holding this whole thing together. There it is. So now I'm going to go ahead and put the fabric on the top. Okay, it's looking pretty good. So now I'm going to put a staple on the top of each one of these as well. So now I still have kind of a weird thing going on here. Not exactly sure how I'm going to deal with that. I think it is time for some duct tape, because duct tape fixes everything. Oh, I do have white duct tape. Good. Now the key to making duct tape work in props is making sure that it always tapes to itself at some point. Because while it will adhere to this felt, it's not nearly as good as taping it to itself. Because once it sticks to itself, it's very hard to get that undone. And I can get a nice seal right along the edge pushing against the foam. Much harder to do against the felt itself. But when I run another strip of duct tape on the other side here, it should work out fine. So I'm going to cut back my felt so that it's not overhanging. And then I'll put more duct tape around. We are ready for our next one. So this is going to be close to the edge, but overlapping the other duct tape. So you won't see any of the felt on the sides, except for maybe about 1/4 of an inch. And again, I just want to remind you, this is a prop. You would never want to make a real target like this, because those bows will shoot those arrows right through a target that's this thin. It wouldn't stand a chance, so it can be very dangerous. This is just used for a prop, for display purposes only. Now I just work all of this together. Making sure that all this duct tape adheres to itself. Because at this point, even if those wood supports come apart, it won't matter. This thing is really going to be held together by the 2 pieces of fabric being duct taped around. So there it is. And which side is front? Must be this side. I don't feel the other hole. There's a hole, and there's a hole. So rather than cutting a hole, I'm just going to make a little X shape, and that will allow it to go down. Just very small little notches. There it is. looks great. Well, time to paint it. I'm trying to use up as much old paint in the house that I can. So I have some white paint here that wasn't mine. It was here when I moved in many years ago. So I'm just using that, and I'm kind of doing this like a birthday cake. I've put this on a painter's Lazy Susan, and I'm able to just kind of work this into the felt. The idea is that I want to try to put a texture on this, and it looks like it's kind of working out nicely. So I need to get it out towards the edges here more. And then continue brushing that in. So I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. Now, there is, the texture in this is probably rust from the can. But that's okay. I'll just make it look like it's filled with hay or something. It's going to take a long time for this to dry because this is a very, very thick coat that I'm putting on here. But I'll just let this dry overnight. This hasn't been open in a long time, which might be a good thing. Whoa, that is thick. Okay, this is going to take a while. Okay, I have it mixed up now where it is almost the texture of plaster. It was so thick I broke the stick. So now I'm just going to dump some right on and see how thick that is. Oh boy. I don't know how much it's going to take. It is good paint though. I could thin it down with some water, such as latex, and still use it for some other projects. So we'll just see how that goes. Now rather than using my brush, I'm just going to take a board and do what I did on the other side. And just start to scrape it around. Now this is also going to act kind of as a glue holding the fabric down. So as I'm doing this, I am also pushing down fairly firmly into the felt. Okay, I clearly used way too much paint. So I'm going to take some of this off and put it back in the can, something you're not really supposed to do, but this is just prop paint at this point. So I will just try this. Let's see. It's so thick I can get away with this. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and try to do the sides with this extra paint that I've got here. That might work. So I kind of still like the other sides better because it was kind of an off-white color. This is a true white, which I don't think you really would have had in medieval times. Boy, this is just like doing a cake here. Okay, so at this point, I've got it all done. So I'm going to try to rotate this just by going back and forth here, making sure that everything is covered and saturated. Okay, now back to the top. Finish that off. I'm going to go all the way in here. Don't have to worry about it dripping too much. It's just so thick. I'll do it one more time, making sure I'm centering it. Okay, so I'm going to work this in here because I didn't really do that. Get those around that hole, okay? I'm going to get it rotating. Now I have my fingerprints all over this. So I'll just do one last final preparation here. Get all my fingerprints off. Add texture. This is neat. The first coat of paint dried, and it was a really bright white, so I put on a second thin coat of paint. It's actually my grizzly tan that I had made up for my shop. I cut out a cardboard template with a 7-inch circle on it, and I'm going to use that to paint the red dot in the center of the circle. So all I'm going to do now is push down the cardboard right along the edges so that hopefully this red paint won't bleed outside of that circle. And I'll just make it a nice heavy coat and hopefully only do one coat. And now I just need to carefully lift this off. So I guess I'm going to have to clean that up. I just used materials lying around my house for this project, so you don't need to use styrofoam. Certainly 1/4-inch plywood or Luan would suffice. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. Thank you.